I am vigorously checking my face because I went to go edit my part 3 of the social media cleanse creative burnout findings video, and I had stuff all over my face, so the footage was unusable. Just making sure that doesn't happen again. Here we go. Part 3, creative burnout. Do the intro. Okay, so I'm choosing to film right now. It's the end of the day, like really the end of the day. It's freaking dark on a Friday night. And like I said before, the footage that I filmed for this portion of my series is unusable. I had like food or like some sort of crumbs on my face the whole time, so it really was not, it was not great. Let me see if I can move the light so that it's not so much on my face. I think that's a little bit better. It's a little bit softer. I'm filming at night. I just recorded episode 2 of my podcast. I did an episode about being an ambitious friend, what it's like to be, you know, the person in your friend group who's so driven and so career oriented, and what, you know, sort of the side effects of that are. And I don't really know how the episode is going to come off. I don't know if it's going to sound arrogant or if it's going to sound kind of like pat on the backy. I don't know, but I'm hoping that it's relatable and some people can, you know, identify with the episode and the things that I talk about. For this series, though, I wanted to sort of wrap up and sum up what happened after my social media cleanse. So I ended up downloading Instagram again that Saturday. So I had done that social media cleanse for a week, and I wanted to feel refreshed, and I wanted to feel like I had learned something, and I wanted to sort of understand why I felt like I needed a cleanse in the first place. I learned 2 things about why I needed the social media cleanse in the first place. One is toxic positivity, and 2 is benign envy. And I know that sounds super smarticle. Trust me, I Googled this and I looked it up to figure out what the heck I was feeling. I had no idea, but these were the 2 things that really resonated with me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling that. Like, this is what social media is doing to me. So toxic positivity is the one thing. And toxic positivity is like, I feel like there are tons of people online who are super positive, who are personas of like self-helpy personas or influencers or whatever, who seem like they're always in a great mood and everything's going great for them all the time. And sometimes getting inundated with that, it feels like something's wrong with you because you're not happy and everything's not going well for you. But it also makes you feel like everyone's fake, which I hate using that word because it's like so silly, but it makes you feel like, what am I watching? Like, what am I even buying into? Like, why am I even on social media if this is unreal? So toxic positivity examples would be like, choose happiness. Happiness is a choice, or you can control your mood, which is true to a certain extent, except for, in my opinion, choosing happiness isn't realistic every day, because a choice or a discernment is a logical thing that your brain does, and emotions are illogical. So I'm not so sure that choosing an emotion makes sense. It might even be an oxymoron. I think that people are more nuanced than that, and we feel our emotions whether we like it or not. You know, we can find the positive in a situation and find, you know, what it is that we can learn from something or whatever. But I just think that, you know, the super self-helpy of like, you're in control of like your life and you can choose and blah, 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 all those things. Gary Vanderchuck or whatever his name is. I don't remember what his name is, but when I think of it, or when I am in the editing process, I'll probably pop his name up somewhere, I don't know, of who he is, and you may know who I'm talking about. But yeah, I just like, it's positivity that's toxic in a sense that it's unrealistic, and it doesn't allow you to process your emotions and allow you to deal with them in a productive way. So not that social media should ever be a way that you deal with your emotions productively, but we spend so much time on it that it's just good to be cognizant and aware that those kinds of things can be toxic for you. So to the second thing, the benign envy. This was an eye-opener, to say the least, because I didn't know there was different types of envy. So envious people, I think, are like, oh, I want what you have, and I want to take what you have, and I'm jealous of you, like, why you shouldn't even have that, blah, blah, blah. So I learned that there's malicious envy, which is what I just talked about, which is basically like, I don't think that you should have what you have. I think I should have it. And then there's like sort of happiness that you have for people when they do achieve things, of like, oh, like, that's so awesome. I love that. Like, I'm hoping that I'll get that for myself. Like, I wish I had that. Like, that's the, you know, the upside of envy. They both have like an upper and downer effect. So malicious envy is more of a downer, you know, like you will feel envious and you feel down on yourself, of like, oh, why don't I have that? I should have that. And you're sad and depressed about it. And you're like, sometimes people will think, am I behind in life? I don't feel like I'm achieving things at the same rate as my peers. So that's sort of the downward or the bottom feeling that you feel with malicious envy. And then the benign envy, though, is the upper. It's basically, you see someone else has something, you see that they're successful, and you think that maybe their successful is attainable for you because you're maybe a part of the same demographic, or you're the same age, or you know the person, right? And the benign envy is feeling more motivated to go after your goals and your ambitions, because that person's success is motivating you because you want that success. So that's benign envy. And what I realized is that benign envy, oh, my hair is looking kind of nuts. What I realized is that benign envy can also be harmful too, because you become, or at least I do this because I'm a very motivated person, is that I tend to obsess about that person. Like, say a celebrity, right? So they're successful and they're doing whatever, and I see that and I'm like, oh, well, if they're doing it, I can do it, because I want that. I want what the house, the car, I want the, you know, career that they have, blah, blah, blah. So then I obsess over it, and I, you know, watch every interview, and I, you know, read all the books, and I watch all their videos, and I then go watch all their movies, and like, and it's just too much. The benign envy is an upper, which makes me motivated, but it's also like a detriment to myself. It doesn't make me focus on myself, which is really what we should be doing rather than focusing on other people on social media. So I learned that those are two things that I have to be wary of. I just spit. Ew. Those are two things that I have to be wary of when it comes to being on social media. And I think that everyone should really think about, you know, how social media is affecting them, how it's affecting your work, especially if you're a creative, how it's affecting your motivation to create things, to make things, because I was in a space to where it was kind of, it ebbed and flowed of whether or not I was in the upper or the down area of envy. So those are two things that I learned about social media. And the other thing that I learned about social media is that it's really hard to quit it cold turkey. It's so integrated into everything that we do, especially for me, because I work in entertainment, and coming from TMZ and having to have social media in order to pull assets and know what the celebrities are doing or whatever. And then, you know, also, you know, being on social media in the job that I even have now, and just for my own personal, you know, career growth and whatever, to know what other people are doing and studying successful people. That's really what I use social media for. So I need to, this helped me see that I need to lessen the amount of time that I'm going on social media, and sort of know that, you know, there is a cap. There is too much, you know, too much of anything is bad for everybody. So yeah, that's really what I learned about social media. After the cleanse was done, I didn't feel relieved. I didn't feel this huge, you know, like, oh, I feel better now, like I'm like super happy again and I can like go back on social media. I didn't have that feeling. I just think that I had more of an understanding of, you know, why I felt like I needed to do that, and why it's so important to focus on yourself. Focus on yourself, focus on yourself, focus on yourself, focus on yourself. And everything that I had read during that time, and everything that I did see during that time, and even after, when I was, you know, trying to decide what I was going to film about what I learned and all of that, said, you've got to worry about what you're doing, and really, really pay attention to what you're doing, because in the chaos and in the process and journey of what you're doing and the work that you're doing is where you will also find, you know, those successes. So I think the social media cleanse was great. I've talked to other people who feel the same way, that they also need sort of a cleansing, that they need a break from all of this. I agree with you. The quarantine. It sounds like a horror movie, because it kind of is. But quarantine, COVID-19, it's really exaggerating the amount of time that you have with yourself, the amount of time that you have on social media, the amount of time you're spending I don't know if you can hear the thunder and lightning. It's storming outside. The amount of things that you consume, your consumption rate right now is so high. So if you do feel like you do need a break and you need to take a pause from the pause, because I feel like quarantine is a pause from our lives, you should do that. You should do that. So that's it. That's it for this series. I'm really excited to wrap this up and focus on other videos and do other topics and just make more content to fill up my Instagram, to fill up my YouTube. My YouTube is Pollyanna Productions. Go ahead and follow me over there. And that's it. I'll quit being spooky and sort of play the outro. Bye.
Wave. Tapped in. Lately my life had a fast man, but it's ass plan. Fight for my life with the brass hands, and I still ball with a bad hand. Got an aerial point of view, but